episode of iAfrica. In this week's episode, I have three creatives for you, as always. In the first segment, I have a painter, Ronald Muchatuta. In the second segment, I have afro-jazz artist, Batsirai Shasha, who's going to be making you dance because I've got to make sure you dance just a little in this episode. And in the third and final segment, I have Keith Zenda, who's back with his new body of work. Stay tuned. This is iAfrica. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugarem Dupani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the African story.
Well, my background, I'm one of those artists that stands on the shoulders of previous generational artists who were, grateful enough to mentor me in the journey. I started off very young, working at Rosebank Pottery, and eventually getting mentored at Gallery Delta, now called Naga Gallery. And with a passion and a pursuit for achieving a profession as an artist, I decided to move to Cape Town, South Africa, where I expanded my practice as an artist, and also I embarked with different institutions that collected my work, and also furthering my education as an artist as well. It has been more than 20 years. I think the inspiration just comes from a desire of somewhat of trying to express one's inner emotions, and also trying to leave a mark on earth, trying to be somebody who has a legacy and a name. Usually I do a lot of research because my practice talks more about migration with regards to Africans and Africans migrating to the diaspora. So there's a lot of research that goes into that. I also do research on the state of how we as Africans are in, and the constant dialogue and everyday dialogue that we engage with regards to the conditions that we succumb within the contemporary narrative of what Africa is. But in terms of the materiality of my work, I really am more collage based. So I draw, I paint, but I tend to tear and draw and cut my drawings to expand my composition within my artworks, and to give a new feel and also a new dialogue, and also to give somewhat of a signature style in my work. I think the African story has always to do with emotive situations where you put yourself in other people's shoes. Whether it's atrocities, whether it's things that affect us, and sometimes we might not have the right tools to fight those issues, but sometimes it's better to have a voice, and also to put ourselves in people's shoes, especially the unfortunate, the ones who don't have a voice. So usually what's great is like when you have a platform, you're able to vocalize those issues that people go through, and paint a picture to the world as to what's going on. My work is in a lot of collections around the world. My work is in a museum called Novo Foundation in Cape Town. I also have work with Spear Art Trust, which is a subordinate of Spear Wine Farm. I also have work with Nando's International. Private collections, Well, I think ownership of our narratives as artists, ownership, and also trying to maintain value because most of us, with the arts, it's very difficult to actually understand what value is when it comes to the arts. So standing firm and holding on to the value of what you create, despite having other forces that want to take advantage of that. I'm working on ideas surrounding immigration with regards to how marriages and relationships are affected by migration, how people migrate to other regions and countries, and issues to do with trying to maintain marriages and relationships affect the individuals, whether the individual changes because of the atmosphere that they're in, or there is a strain from not being together. That's kind of like what I'm focusing on currently. I also engage with a lot of mentorship. I mentor young artists. I give them advice here and there. I'm very passionate about art, so what I try to do is, because I believe that, what was given to me before, I should pass it on to others.
iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugare Mdopani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the African story. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugare Mdopani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the African story. Welcome to this segment where I am now bringing to you an afro-jazz artist. He says, no, don't box me. It's not gospel. It's afro-jazz. I have with me Batsirai Shasha.
Kana mwana achizvarwa angatangene nano anongoti mwana mudiki achizvarwa angatangene nano anongoti.
Welcome, Batsirai. Yes, it's absolutely an honor to have you. Anzi dear Nana. Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So take us through your journey in the industry.
Well, I think I've been singing since forever, as long as I can remember. I've just been singing. I was born in a singing family. My brothers and sisters, they all sing, and I was raised in church, which is where I got most of my experience. So I've been singing. I've just been singing, yeah.
So you are more of afro-jazz.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind you just, going in the afro-jazz?
Afro-jazz, I kind of ended up there because of my love for our Afrocentric packaging of music. So I gravitate towards our mbira, our acoustic guitars, our drums, our ngoma and everything. I love that. So that's how I actually package my music. But my message is primarily gospel because I'm a Christian, I love God. I want to inspire people from that perspective. Yes.
You use mbira, yes, and marimba in your music.
Yes.
I've noticed those notes in your music as well. What has been the reception? Because people tend to say Christians don't use traditionally African instruments.
Yeah, it is. The market is a bit difficult when it comes to that. So there's a lot of compromise. I'm still learning as well and still growing into it, into understanding the kind of market that we have in terms of that music. Because it's more like those kind of instruments, that kind of packaging is appreciated outside, not here. So when you're doing gospel, you tend to focus on worshiping God, the worship, and you are mostly focusing on the keyboard and strings, and then you're praising God. It's just made of dancing and everything. But I try by all means to just fuse it right there, slowly but surely. And our producers as well, they don't help because they don't like those instruments.
Is it?
Yeah, they don't like it. I think it's a matter of most of them don't have a proper training in terms of production, so they do with what they can produce and what they can mix and master. So those instruments are difficult to clean and make sure the sound is very, very clean. So that's very difficult, but I'm learning and I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
You have quite a following for your age.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
What has helped you as you have been growing through the industry? Because I do know that some people maybe, as you've said, you have grown up in the church, right? How have you gotten the platforms and the following that you have?
Well, it's been a combination of things. First of all, I think it's just by the grace of God. Sometimes you can't explain how people just like you and that just want to know more about you. And I've managed to take advantage of the digital era that we're in right now. And I capitalize and I invest in social media quite a lot. People are just curious. They want to know what you're up to. They want to know where you live, what you're doing, what else you're doing besides music. People in these days, they just don't want you to be the singer that they know or just listen to your music. They want to know what you like, what you are as a person. And when you invest in your character like that, it actually brings more value to your music. When people know that, oh my God, he's actually a good person, oh, he loves this, and then people fall in love with that personality that you have, they will tend to like your music more. And then that's how they come and follow you. Yeah.
Can you also take us through your creative process?
It's very funny.
Yeah.
I don't create in a way that most people think I do create. I don't do it intentionally. I don't have a pen and a paper. I'm like, okay, now I want to create. No. Sometimes it's 2 a.m.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel asleep. Yeah, I'm just like, I can't sleep. And then I listen to my brain and then something is playing there. Songs, they come in different ways. Sometimes it's a line, a guitar line, and then I'm just like, okay, where is this going? And then I record. Sometimes I can record it on my phone with a whistle. And then I just recorded it, and I'm just like, okay. So when we go to the studio, now we have to follow through and see where the song is going, because my head is too busy. I don't have time to sit still and listen to, like, when you're writing a song, you don't have to stand in the way of the song.
Yes.
You want it to just
Flow.
just flow.
Uh-huh.
But then to be in that space for a long time,
Yeah.
because I'm inspired at different times. Sometimes it's because I'm walking, but I can't keep on walking. I have to be doing something else. You know what I mean? So now we have to go to the studio, and then we're like, okay, fine. How do we put the pieces together? Which is kind of helpful because you can't stick to your own abilities. Yeah, it has to limit you in terms of your reach. So you're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And then you take those ideas until you've got one project. Yeah.
Okay. As an artist in Zimbabwe, what are some of the challenges that you're facing? I mean, you've mentioned the issue of producers. Yes, the production aspects. What are the other aspects that you find as a challenge in the industry?
Well, I would say that is the biggest. The production is the biggest, because I feel like those people, they have so much control in terms of like our taste as people, as Africans, as Christians, as like our music in Zimbabwe. They've got such control, such that they're actually taking us away from our identity in terms of music, and it's quite a big challenge. It is a very big challenge. The other challenge is there's a lot of artists and people just singing. Everyone can sing, anyone can sing, and anyone, like, studios are everywhere. You think you can sing, you just get into the studio and then record, which is good in a way, because now artists are everywhere. Talent is now on every platform. It's just a matter of singing on your phone. The challenge is the value of the music is no longer as much as it was or as it should be. A project that can cost you 5,000 to make can actually underperform than a project that someone just took $20 to to get in town and record. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So those are the imbalances that are in the market.
Yes.
And I think with time, maybe with time,
Yes.
we are going to ease into it and understand and embrace the digital space that we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just we're throwing a cat amongst the pigeons. If we made Batsirai Shasha the minister of music and musicology,
Okay.
given these challenges that you've highlighted, do you have solutions?
Apparently, I don't. It's very unfortunate that I don't.
yeah.
We just go with the flow and we pray and we hope. I think the best solution that I can give out there is just being real to yourself, to keep your identity. Like myself, I don't identify as a minister, although I don't tell people not to call me that. You can, but myself, I'm Batsirai Shasha. I want to find myself. I love mbira, I love marimba, I love acoustic guitar. That's me, and I'm gonna get there. Once you do that, it's easy for you to create your own identity and be original. And people eventually, it takes time, but eventually they'll pay attention. And then you'll be like, oh, apart from this, I can actually do this. This is my authentic self. So most people are running away from their identity because of the environment. They're like, no, I can't do this. Let me get rid of this. Let me just do dancehall because that's what people like. While the person is actually like a worshipper. Exactly, something like that. Yeah.
Can we expect any new music from you?
Oh, definitely. We have collaborations. We have a lot of projects apparently that have to come out the end of the year and the next year.
The next year.
Yeah.
So into the next year, we will be dancing. Definitely to your music. We won't be doing Denana anymore.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be flowing with a whole different song altogether. Thank you so much, Batsirai Shasha, for gracing us.
Thank you.
That was afro-jazz artist Batsirai Shasha with his take on this industry. Stay tuned for the next segment. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugarim Dukwani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the African story. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugarim Dukwani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the African story. Welcome to this segment of iAfrica, where we have someone who's not a stranger to you at all. We bring back to you mixed media artist Keith Zenda. Hello, Keith. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks. It's good to have you on the show.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, and I'm feeling so much happy.
So can you tell us what has been happening ever since you were here last time?
I can say I've started a lot of projects, and I'm so much here being in this environment. The National Art Gallery, they've supported me so much, and now I can say I'm able to do my projects, art projects, promoting and helping other artists, especially the young upcoming and the underprivileged artists.
And here at the National Art Gallery, the artworks that you have on display, yes?
Yes.
Yes, can you take me through that? Because there's one particular piece that took my heart. I immediately recognized it.
Which one is that?
The Mutarazi Falls one.
That's great.
Yes. Can you take me through the process, your painting process, and also the stories behind each and every one of the pieces that are here?
Yeah, starting from the Mutarazi painting, it's something also I didn't know there is this beautiful place in Zimbabwe, because I was used to Victoria Falls, to Great Zimbabwe, Kariba. But then when I got a commission for the Mutarazi Falls, I was like, wow, this is something beautiful, something unique. And when I started to paint it, I was enjoying it because it's part of me, you know, being in Zimbabwe and painting my own heritage site, which I want to showcase to the people, especially in Zimbabwe, because sometimes we don't know what we have. We have no time to visit until we see other people coming, like tourists. Then they see these places, they post on social media. That's when now we start to appreciate what we have. You know, something different from us to appreciate and showcase to the world.
Yes, and there's also one of a Zimbabwean icon. Yes, with the Mbiyane painting.
Oh, yes. So on the Mbiyane painting, it also took me back to our background, you know, like those people who sacrificed for our freedom. To be where we are today, it's because of them. So the Mbiyane story, it's something that captured my heart and inspired me to do the painting. As you can, on the painting there are some footprints.
Yes,
Those
I
are my
noticed them.
footprints. So the sign of the footprints is the journey that Mbiyane walked, and we are now following the footprints. So now we have to, it's not just about reading our history, but we can see artworks, and then we can visualize through the artworks. So art plays an important role in telling a story, even to the children, even to any age, because people, they come and admire and ask questions. Some they can figure it out. Why there is this color? Why there are footprints? You know, so we have somewhere to start or to narrate about our history.
Yes, rightfully so, because even growing up, the Zimbabwean culture, we knew we would sit Nanambuya Nana Sekuru, and we would have them tell us those stories, right?
Yes.
You were telling me earlier on the side about a project that you're doing with some foreigners. Can you tell the viewers about that?
Yes, I can say I was bred, I grew up in Chirumanzi rural areas, then I moved to Mkoba, 17, and then I moved to Lower Gweru rural areas. That's where I established the art center, whereby I'm giving back to the community, because I started art in the rural areas. So now I feel there is a young boy or a young girl in the rural areas who need to be discovered and mentored, you know. So that's why I started the project in the Midlands. And now coming to Harare, because I've been working with the National Gallery for a very long time, and they appreciated my art so much. They encouraged me to work hard, and I did a lot of paintings for the National Gallery, Great Zimbabwe, Vic Falls, you know, and the OPC, Office of the President Office. They have a big collection of those artworks through the National Gallery. So being in Harare now, because it's a capital city and there's a lot of business as well, art business, I visited Domboshava, and then I discovered the Domboshava caves. You know, such a beautiful heritage just inside of Harare. Then I said, why can't I start something in this community so that I bring this beautiful heritage into the spotlight, you know? So that's why now I'm establishing an art space there. So I showed some of my friends outside in Europe. So one of my friends from Switzerland said, no, I think I need to work with you, let's partner. So he partnered with me, and then we are starting what is Swiss Zim Heritage Gallery. So Swiss Zim, because he's a Switzerland nationality, I'm Zimbabwean. So now we are coming together in this like cultural exchange, whereby he's going to bring more people from Switzerland to come and see the Domboshava Cave. So we are starting somewhere.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of iAfrica, where I had two artists, Ronald Muchatuta and Keith Zenda. Their artworks, mind-blowing. And also afro-jazz sensation Batsirai Shasha, who kept you on your toes as you were dancing along to his music. I'm your host, Rugarim Dokwani. I will see you next week. Stay creative. This is iAfrica. iAfrica searches for inspiration and innovation in all areas of popular culture, from fashion and design through to architecture, art, food, and travel. The focus is on outstanding individuals doing extraordinary things on the African continent. The show presents creatives in their home nations, visiting renowned designers, musicians, architects who are leaving their mark on the young continent. Join me, your host, Rugarim Dokwani, as we take a round trip across Africa and get to be inspired, motivated, and future-oriented. iAfrica, celebrating the